I still believe that your website is your most important and your most durable asset as a brand. Your website, you do have full control over, right? If someone visits your website because they clicked a link or got a text message, like you control the narrative, you control the experience. They are grading not only your website, but they are also subconsciously or consciously grading how effective and legit you are as an organization.
I draw a correlation between the physical space that I have and the digital space that I have. And so, one of the biggest arguments for me about investing in our website is like, we're interacting with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people online, and they can't all come here. So what is that warm, welcoming, inviting, like exciting place that I'm sending everybody to go have that experience at?
I'm Eric Ressler.
I'm Jonathan Hicken.
And this is Designing Tomorrow.
Eric, I have a confession.
Okay. How all of our best episodes start, by the way.
I haven't updated my website in 5 years. Now, to be clear, I don't mean like updates like we're changing, events and stuff like that.
Okay, my heart skipped a beat there.
But we haven't done shit with our website in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And every so often, it comes back to my desk. Hey, let's update our website. Hey, let's update our website. And I keep kicking the can down the road. And so I want to spend today asking you some tough questions about why the heck I should spend the time and the money to redo the website.
Okay, this could get spicy. I mean, full disclosure, I sell websites for a living to some degree, right? So we're at Cosmic, a design agency, a brand strategy agency, and a lot of times that work includes bringing the brand identity into digital experiences, the website, social, etc. So I've got a little bit of bias in this discussion, but I also believe really strongly that the website is still very important. I'm happy to dig into it.
And full disclosure, I would love to find a way to hire you to do our website. So this is like kind of like an informal interview on whether or not we should do this.
I mean, since we're there, I'd love to redo your website, man. Let's go. Okay, so what's stopping you? I want to hear, like, why do you keep kicking the can down the road? You've got some structural issues, I think, but I want to hear it from you.
Yeah. At the end of the day, our website needs to inform people about when we're open, which Google Business does for us most of the time. It needs to be a place where people can sign up for our programs. And it needs to be a place where people can make financial transactions, right? Buy tickets, become a member, donate, etc. It's doing those things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's doing those things decently well. So, like, why should I spend the six-figure investment to make it world-class? I mean, ultimately, it's like kind of like I got more important shit to work on.
What's the ROI? Yeah. Well, I guess what I would say is, like, to put your particular situation aside just for a second, I don't always think redoing a website is the right call. When people come to us, it usually is, but that's because people are coming to us usually in some kind of transformative moment for the organization, some kind of pivotal moment. Either they're starting a new org, or there's a new ED, or there's a new vision or a new strategic plan. And basically there's this, well, we named it on the show a couple weeks ago, this identity impact gap, right? Where their true identity as an organization and who they are and who they're becoming and how they are representing themselves, how they are communicating, how are they perceived by their audience, there's a gap there. And that gap is a major problem. So if you're in a situation where that gap isn't very big, you should not redo your website. You should be focusing your efforts somewhere else. But if you're in a situation where, whether it's the website or any other touch point for the brand is not aligned with who you are and who you're becoming, then it is actually actively holding you back.
Take us back a couple of years, because we actually did an episode called Our Website's Dead.
Yes.
In 2024. And so let's set the scene a little bit. Set the stage on like what you have seen the role websites playing back then versus now, how it's changed, etc.
So I think when I did that episode, I think that was actually season 1 when it was just me on the show.
Oh, damn. We've talked about website enough.
We've talked about it a lot.
In it.
We've talked about it before too. But the one you're referring to, Our Website's Dead, I was at the time thinking about that more because there was this narrative at the time that like everything happens on social now and websites don't matter, which I think is not true. First of all, I don't think it was true then. Now there's kind of this newer narrative being formed around like, well, everything's AI now. And like people don't even go to your website anymore, which also is not true, but it is a factor, right? That like now There's a new technological shift, and both those things are still happening. And despite all of those things being true to a degree, like, yes, a lot of brand expression happens through social or through email or other channels or in person. And yes, AI is eating up a lot of organic search, so less people are maybe coming to your website through Google, although that's all changing, which I'm sure we'll touch on. I still believe that your website is your most important and your most durable asset as a brand.
What do you mean by durable?
What I mean by durable is like social media and email to a degree, even they're going through these, like, they're constantly changing. What's in the algorithm? Who gets attention? Why? What's popular? How are you perceived? Like, you lack a lot of control. They're not these owned channels. And email used to be kind of considered an owned channel, and it's becoming less and less of one, as even emails have like new filters and promotions tab. And like, just because you send an email to someone, certainly if it's a promotional email, there's no guarantee people are going to see that email anymore. Your website, you do have full control over, right? If someone visits your website because they clicked a link or got a text message, like, you control the narrative, you control the experience, and that in a good faith way should be used responsibly to be authentic about who you are. It also means that anyone can spin up a website and spin a narrative that could be completely false, which we learned about when we interviewed Joel from Civic Online Reasoning recently. And one of the things he pointed to is like, hey, people trust websites that look good. They trust websites that have an .edu or .org domain, even though they might be a shell of like a propaganda machine or something like that. So you can use that benefit responsibly. And I would argue that when people come to a website, they are grading not only your website, but they are also subconsciously or consciously grading how effective and legit you are as an organization. People come to the website and it's a total mess. It doesn't make sense. It looks poorly designed. It feels like some cousin's second project. People start to wonder, rightfully so, like, is this org even legit? If they don't care about how they present themselves in their most like important asset, are they also kind of lame when it comes to their impact, right? So these are some of the things that I would think about. I'm happy to go more into like true ROI on websites when done well, but even just at a base level, we just have to be pragmatic about, like, if your website doesn't look legit, people are going to judge you based on that, rightfully or not.
So durability for you is about like weathering time, and you're making a bet that websites are going to continue to have value no matter how the internet changes.
People have been saying the website is going to die for like 20 years. Now, lots of things are changing about the web and the internet and technology, but like, websites have made major changes. A lot of people are experiencing websites on a phone instead of a computer now, or they're finding your website because they were researching something online and your organization got cited. So they might not even go to the website, but that website is still informing people about you and your work. And we have people coming to us right now who search for the best social impact design agencies, and we come to the top of that search. And they find us that way, not because they Google searched. Now, I'd like to think that most of them go visit the website and look at our work and learn more about us, but some of them maybe don't, and they just book a call right away. The website still serves value in that situation, because if the website didn't exist and it wasn't well designed and reputable, and by well designed, I don't just mean visually well designed, but structurally well designed. You know, the data was there for the AI search agent to find and to consume properly, then it wouldn't have ever surfaced to you in the results. So there's all these like intangible benefits to the website too.
I wonder what you think about the sort of frame of mind, and probably every organization's a little different here, so it might be hard for you to sort of like broad swath answer this question, but do your best. So,
okay.
You know, there's like a frame of mind, right? When we think about how we're interacting with organizations online, we're either watching a video on YouTube or seeing a post or a reel on social, or now on AI, we're learning about it by asking questions of ChatGPT or Claude or whatever.
Yeah.
What's the mentality of somebody when they're visiting a website that's different from one of those sort of interaction modes?
So, like, I think people come to websites for very different reasons, right? And I think that's one of the things that's so hard about designing websites well, is that especially in the social impact space, there's usually multiple competing priorities, right? And then from your audiences that you're serving, but even from your own team around like what you want the website to do and what it should do. So I have this kind of paradigm that I think about. Websites usually have some kind of flavor or series of flavors. So there are some websites that need to have some kind of transactional element. So for the Seymour Center, you need to sell tickets. And that transactional element might be the only reason someone's coming to the website. And their experience of the website is going to be majorly influenced by how intuitive and frictionless that process was. And even that experience can have a major influence on their overall brand experience with the Seymour Center, right? But beyond that, like in the best case, someone maybe comes in for a transactional experience, but gets like the best websites, you spend 20 minutes on it and you only meant to spend 1 minute on it, right? Because you enter this experience and you find yourself wandering the halls of this digital space that's so beautiful and so inspiring that you lose a sense of yourself and your time. And I think like that's what we aim for when we're translating brand strategy into websites is like, yeah, there's these transactional needs. There's these informational needs, right? We have reports, we have resources, et cetera. There's storytelling needs. I need people at a, within 10 seconds to like clearly understand my organization, who we're for, how we help people, what we do. 90% of nonprofit websites fail that test. Like that's not even an exaggeration at all. When people come to us, they might have their mission statement, they might have their vision statement. Most of those also aren't very clear and they're full of buzzwords. So we have a test that we run on website homepages. Not that we hope people do this or expect people to, but if someone came only to your homepage and read only the first section of your homepage, they should be able to understand who you are and what you do and who you do it for. If they scroll through the whole homepage, they should be able to understand what other opportunities they have on the website, and they should be able to understand a little bit more like depth around like kind of the ethos of the organization, what you believe, what you stand for, your point of view, so that if all they do is see the homepage and you test them, they basically get it. Again, most nonprofit websites and social impact websites like egregiously fail that test.
I draw a correlation between the physical space that I have and the digital space that I have on this, right? Like,
totally.
And sort of setting aside the sort of like integration of the digital and the physical for a second. When I think of people walking in our front doors, or actually even before they even enter the building, right? What they're seeing on the outside.
Yeah.
I want them to feel a certain sense of belonging or a certain sense of excitement about entering the space, right?
Yeah.
And so, one of the biggest arguments for me about investing in our website is like, we're interacting with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people online, and they can't all come here. So what is that warm, welcoming, inviting, like exciting place that I'm sending everybody to go have that experience at? And for us, because we have a physical space too, I mean, even more power if we can get those two things sort of feeling the same.
Yeah, right. And I think what you're touching on there is something that I would basically just call like brand experience, right? And when I think about building brands, there's all these different places that your brand shows up, right? It's basically, people think about brands as like your logo and your colors, and like those things are part of your brand. But really at the end of the day, your brand is like, how did people feel interacting with your organization, however they were doing it? If it was on your Google page, if it was on your website, if it was on your social feed, if it was in person, if it was at a closed door funder meeting, all of those are brand moments, right? And I think that in the best case, and what you should be striving for is that there's a coherence between all of those, so that and the best brands in the world do this amazingly well. A common example would be Apple, right? Apple is highly regarded as one of the best branded organizations in the world. And you can criticize Apple, and some of the moves they've made have been bad for sure, but you kind of know, like when you're going to do anything with Apple, you're going to get an Apple experience. And like, what does that mean? It means premium, it means effortless, it means beautiful, it means modern, right? Like those are just the first 4 words that popped in my brain when I think about Apple as a brand. But it's not because of their design in an aesthetic standpoint. It's because of their like human design, right? It's like, what does it feel like to interact with an Apple product compared to a non-Apple product? I have my qualms, but for the most part, like there's a reason why they're one of the most successful companies in the world. Social impact organizations are not Apple. They shouldn't try to be Apple, but you need to figure out what your version of that is. What's the Seymour Center brand? What's the Seymour Center experience? And how is it coherent between seeing you online on your website, coming into the front door and experiencing the center, looking at the latest Science Solutions Santa Cruz YouTube video? All of that should be a coherent experience that all works synergistically together. Hey friends, real quick before we continue today's episode. I'm Eric Ressler, founder and creative director at Cosmic. Cosmic is a creative agency purpose-built for nonprofits and mission-driven organizations. For For the last 15 years, we've helped leaders like you nail your impact story and sharpen your strategy. But we're not here to just leave you with a fancy slide deck and a pat on the back. We roll up our sleeves and help you bring our ideas to life through campaigns, creative, and digital experiences. Our work together helps you earn trust, connect deeply with your supporters, and grow your fundraising and your impact. If you value the thinking we share here and want it applied to your biggest challenges, let's talk at designbycosmic.com. All right, back to today's conversation.
The brand part of this, honestly, like this is a strong argument, right? I instantly see the value of creating this sort of like consistent brand experience online and in person for us. Like to me, that makes a ton of sense. I think where I really start to like get a little nervous is when I think about the actual dollars and cents of it all.
Sure.
Right. So for me, I'm thinking about, okay, we need to convert X number more ticket sales in order to make the investment worth it. Or we need to convert more X number of members or somehow attribute a donor, experience to actually closing a gift. So
let's get to the brass tacks here.
Let's get right into that because
let's pick a somewhat arbitrary number and let's say a major website overhaul for an established organization is $100,000.
Okay.
It's not always going to be that. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but just to make it the math easy and somewhat realistic. So you could look at it. It's the way that the obvious way to think about this is not as a cost, but as an investment, right? And so when you make any kind of investment, you are not expecting instantaneous returns, right? Unless you are like buying a company or something, and then you might get some like short-term wins, no matter what the investment is. But some investments, like you think about stocks, like you may like lose your shirt on a stock for 10 years and then make it all back and then some 20 years later. A website should not be that, but the way that I think about websites, and again, when I think about like the ROI and when the right time is, if you're generally in a place of stability, a non-growth year, a settle, like kind of like consolidation style year, it's probably not a good investment for you. But the bigger that gap is between how your website is portraying you as an organization and who you actually are and who you're becoming, that is a major, major, major problem that has all kinds of like insidious and invisible issues. So it may not be like something that you're even aware of that it's hurting you, where like, okay, let's make this real. You have a funder meeting. It goes great. You've been introduced. You've got a warm intro. What's the very first thing that funder does after the meeting? Almost certainly.
Yeah, they're going to go to your website.
They're going to go to your website. What do you want that experience to be for them? You want it to not just confirm the things they already know about you. You definitely don't want it to be like, whoa, this is the same org that I just talked to that I was really excited about. This looks pretty janky, right? Like they don't talk about any of the things on here we just talked about. Am I even on the right website? Like this literally happens sometimes, right? But really we want the website to help like be this kind of always on asset for you, right? That's constantly working for you so that anytime someone comes there, it's like not only reinforcing the brand experiences they have in the real world, but it's this whole other set of reinforcing experiences. So for the Seymour Center, let's try and make this real. Yes, like frictionless ticket buying experience, right? Those transactional elements need to be best in class, modern. No one cares that you're a nonprofit when they're trying to buy a ticket. They just want to buy the ticket and they expect it to work just as well as checking out on Amazon. When they search your website, they expect it to work just as well when they're searching on Google. So like, you don't get a pass just because you're a small org. Like people have standards and bars that, for better or for worse, have been set by the world's biggest tech companies that have hundreds of people working on making these experiences frictionless. So that's the transactional side. But for the Seymour Center, now you have Science Solutions Santa Cruz, right? This is an amazing asset and it's wildly successful already so early on. Why isn't that on your website right now? Why isn't that one of the first things I can learn about? Let's say I'm searching here. I'm here for the weekend. I want to do something fun with my kids. I land on your Google page. I come to your website. I buy a ticket. I'm done. I'm not doing anything else in there. But what if I come and like, whoa, I didn't know this about the Seymour Center. Holy crap, they're doing all this stuff. Whoa, they have a whole podcast. And now you're starting to build relationships with people. So like yes, websites absolutely can hold you back. But often there's also this kind of like, it's good enough, right? It's doing the job, right? It was kind of what I heard you say at the beginning.
It's pretty much exactly what I said.
And that's true. And so you need to decide at some point, whether it's with us or someone else or whatever, when is the right time for you to make that not just good enough, but like part of propelling you forward in the mission. And when you have all the right ingredients together, which to me would be like major growth or pivot opportunity or reinvention of who you are, new assets to work with like Science Solutions Santa Cruz that aren't being utilized, or just some kind of dissonance between how you are perceived through the website and who you actually are. To me, those are strong cases where, yes, it's a big investment of not just money, but also time and thought. But once you make that investment and you do it well, it compounds over time, just like investing in like any solid investment, really.
Yeah, I'll peel back the katana a little bit and just be like, one of the reasons I have hesitated on moving to revamp the website is that the strategy that we have been developing and that we're about to launch like in a really big way here soon, I wanted to make sure that it was sticky.
Yeah.
I wanted to make
tested.
It was road tested. I wanted to make sure that what we were doing was going to fit, was going to deliver within our niche.
Yep.
And I didn't want to do a major transformation of the digital assets until I knew that would stick.
I think that's a smart, pragmatic move. Like, and there's a tension there because like you don't want it to be so late that like, you're out there having those conversations right now, right? You got people excited about it. And there's probably people who you've met with who have heard about this, who've come to the website and be like, wait, where's the Science Solutions Santa Cruz stuff?
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, like this isn't what Jonathan was just telling me about in the donor meeting we just had. So like I could make a pretty strong case that it is probably holding you back more than you realize. You're still obviously doing great. We should also, since we're just trying to be like transparent here, like you're locked into a university system, right?
Yeah.
And this happens sometimes with academic nonprofits, and not only in that case where like your hands are tied, like you can't revamp the website. There's some creative things you can do around that to like build alongside the main website and like cross-pollinate. Like we've run into this before where like orgs come to us and they're like, hey, we want to build a really cool immersive like impact report, but we can't touch the website. Like, what do we do? So what we usually do is we'll spin up like a microsite that's like sits on top of it or beside it and like a subdomain or something. So there's ways around some of those constraints, but that's not really the true solution. The true solution is, when possible, to own the infrastructure and to not ever have tech be a reason why you can't put your best foot forward as a brand. I understand in your situation and others, that's a nice to have. It's not something that you can always have full control over, but that's a factor too, right?
Yeah, and I tip my cap to the university in the way because they've locked all of their entities into a certain set of templates because they're trying to build a brand too.
They're
right?
doing their own brand building.
Yeah,
totally.
And so now we have to respect that. We need to work within those constraints. But yes, that is a constraint that may be unique to my situation that others may have. But I don't have totally free, like unbounded ability to build whatever I want. At least not in the way I'm thinking about it. And maybe that's part of the reason why I'm hesitating.
My gut level tells me that's a big part of it, because you're just like, can I even do it?
Yeah.
Right. And like feeling like, oh, like there's not only just the financial investment, the time and energy, but like possibly even like a political fight with the university, or even just a straight up like, you can't do it, man.
Yeah.
I want to go back to like this ROI conversation a little bit though, because I want to just even share for our listeners, like we've had the privilege, I guess, or like the opportunity to work directly with major funders and program officers and pick their brain around like, hey, when you're assessing an org, specifically on the website, like what do you need? What do you need? Like why you're going there for sure. And we heard that across the board with everyone we've ever asked is like, how do you do research on orgs? And yes, they ask their peer funders, and yes, they ask their network, but they also do their own research, and they usually do it starting on your website. And we asked like, what are the things that you want? And what we heard is a couple things. One, transparent financials, 100% needs to be there, easy to find. Like, so we often will build out a section of websites that's like specifically for major funders. That's just like, here's the checklist of everything you want. So they want financials, and they want like history of at least like the last 5 years of those financials. Because what they're doing is they're saying, can this org absorb a gift of this size? Like, are they operationally like ready and able to take this and turn it into impact? Do they have the right leadership team? Like, what's the pay structure? Like all that kind of stuff, like their inputs for their decision making, right? So you want those financials to be super accessible, well presented, easy to find right off the bat, right? Some of these like charity watchdog style organizations, like what used to be Charity Navigator is now Candid. Like those can be nice signals as well that showcase like, some credibility and some transparency too, but you don't need them as long as you're being transparent in how you communicate your things.
Okay, so that's one.
The other thing is like team bios, which I know can be kind of, we've been working with more and more orgs, especially in this state of play where people are concerned about even their staff like being like heckled or like
Targeted
in some way, who are like leaning away from like full name or even like photos on their team bios, which I completely respect. But in general, like funders want to know who the team is, right? And want to know who they're investing in. And so when you feel like that's a responsible move, I would highly recommend not just kind of like only having the leadership team and then just like everyone else goes away. Other things that we heard from some of those meetings is like, if you can't articulate your impact clearly, if you can't articulate your theory of change clearly, which does not mean a schematic diagram, but just like, here's how we do the work and why, your intervention is another way of thinking about that. Like what's the way that you actually create impact? If you can't clearly articulate in a way that like makes sense in English who you are, who you do your work for, that doesn't require like some kind of Rubik's cube to solve, like all those things are just creating friction and lacking confidence in an organization that actually knows those things and has clarity around it. So those are just some like high level tips. I don't want to diverge too much because I think we could do a full episode on this, but when we're talking about ROI, to sum this up, your website should sell things for you. And what I mean by that is like your website should be your best fundraiser, not your only fundraiser. Like Jonathan, for you, you're out there having meetings and your website is your number 2, right? Because that's the very first thing that people are going to do after having those meetings with you, or even before, in order to get the meeting in the first place.
Yeah, what's funny is you helped me do this case for support, and so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make that case for support the second place.
It has to be,
right?
For you.
Yeah. For us, because the website's not where it needs to be, right? So I'm like aggressively like being, look at this first, right? Like this is the thing that's gonna bring home the deal or whatever.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and I think in the best case you would have, the case for support, and then also the website would just like reinforce all of the things you saw in there.
What's sort of occurring to me now is that there's this hidden cost to having a website, right? Which is like for those donor experiences, and they're going to the website as a second place.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing their drop off. I'm not seeing their thought process. That's not getting back to me really in any way. I mean, I guess you could make the argument that like I could probably track like rate of closed deals and maybe attribute some of it to the website, but
how would you know that's the thing?
There's a million reasons why that could be the thing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think part of what I'm walking away with is paying attention to these hidden costs of this asset that is not where it needs to be.
Have you ever had like a underperforming employee who?
Yes.
Yeah. Who so like this is a good analogy, I think. Like you've maybe had an employee or a coworker who's like clearly not pulling their weight. You know that feeling of just like, someone's not pulling their weight, like they're bringing the whole team down because of their energy or their lack of performance. Like sometimes that's the website, but the sort of more dangerous one is the employee who's just kind of like checking the boxes, who could be someone who's doing so much more than that. And it sounds to me like your situation is more the latter.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of people come to us where like they're like, we know this thing is actively hurting us, help.
Yeah.
And maybe that's right at some level. Like I would personally advise against waiting till it's that bad, but you do have to have some kind of pain for it to be worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I would say like if you've ever had an experience with an employee like that who then gets replaced by someone who's like not just phoning it in, but who's excellent, and then you're like, I could have had this the whole time.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of the experience we hear from clients we work with on websites, where it's just like, I had no idea.
I actually think that's a brilliant analogy. And if you're not using that with clients in your sales processes, you should, because
I will now.
Yeah. Because, I actually, as you were telling that story, I was like, website is almost the wrong word. I know it describes the asset, right? But like, it's a player on your team.
100%.
And if you have a subpar player on your team, how do you as a leader deal with that?
Yep.
And a website is like doing work
and has almost an outsized influence compared to any one person on your team, depending on the type of org that you are, right? I mean, we build websites all the time that have hundreds of thousands of unique impressions per month, per year. very few staff members have that much influence over the perception of your brand, right? So I'm not saying websites are more important than people. I'm just saying that they have a bigger influence on your brand perception sometimes.
Yeah, and just in my seat as executive director, like that framing is like, this is a player on your team.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with average or low performers on your team, right? Like that's a kind of an aha moment for me.
I think it's a huge unlock in terms of how you think about it, and I'd recommend to listeners they do think about it that way. And look, like, it's a big move to do a major website overhaul, and we really try to build sites in a way that you don't do that over and over and over again. We actually had a client come back to us recently who we built their site over 10 years ago. They came back last year and we decided, you know what, we got to build it over. We very rarely do that because we are very intentional about, like, we're building it in a way that we can always be iterating on it. So another analogy I would use for the website is like a garden, right? There are times where you need to build the garden, and there are times where you need to prune. And a garden is only as fruitful as the effort and the time and the care that you put into it every day, right? If you build the most amazing garden in the world and you don't water it and it doesn't get sunshine, or there's disease or whatever, right? Like, it will eventually fester and just become full of weeds and overgrown and eaten by critters, etc. And we see that basically same thing happen with websites. Is there's a big moment, everyone rallies, they build the new thing. Sometimes it's done well, often it's not. And then it just kind of gets put on autopilot. Like, that is not, you would never manage an employee that way, right? You can't manage a website that way either. And the other thing I'll just point to, that's another kind of intangible value about, like, going through a website process, is that it's going to force you to make some tough decisions. And I would say this is true for any kind of, like, brand, any serious brand effort. In order to build a good website, you have to know who you are. You have to have solid messaging. You have to have solid understanding of who the website's for, who the audience is, what their needs are. All of that work either has to be done before or as part of a website overhaul in order for you to build something that's going to actually be durable and serve the community and really, like, be an asset for you. And so, hard work, but also, you know, work well done that's going to serve you outside of just the outputs of the website itself.
And that's the fundamental premise of Cosmic's work, right? Is that you enter at these moments of transformation, and going through the process of building a website or a strategic plan or a case for support or whatever, you're gonna get into these, like, hard-hitting, self-evaluative questions.
Yeah, and look, I'm biased in that, and, like, that's our approach, which is a great fit for some people and not a good fit for others. And, like, frankly, I think a lot of times people are sort of scared away from websites as they've had 1, 2, 3 bad experiences. Like, unfortunately, many people who come to us almost with, like, past website traumas. And so, like, we're also part therapists. Yeah. Like, we will heal. It's going to be okay. Like, we're going to get through this. And we know why that happened, and we have a process to get around it. But there are absolutely, you know, people out there, agencies out there who are going to be happy to just, like, do a tactical thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what you need. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that I would usually recommend that approach unless there's just something, like, so fundamentally broken, you can't get the budget to do it right, and you got to just, like, do, like, an emergency, like, stopgap. Like, every once in a while you got to do something like that.
All right. Well, now you got me thinking about redoing our website here, buddy. Yeah. So thanks for letting me grill you on it.
I know a guy.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
All right, man. This is fun.
If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe, or even leave us a comment. It really helps. Thank you. And thank you for all that you do for your cause and for being part of the movement to move humanity and the planet forward.